Welcome to the Expert Network Team podcast,
where our goal is to inform and educate our listeners on matters related to finance, legal, insurance, accounting, and other interests that are of personal and business nature.
We hope you will find our content useful as well as entertaining. The Expert Network Team consists of Carl Frank of A&I Financial, Mike Miller of Miller and Associates CPAs, Jeff Cromendike of Security First Insurance Agency, and I'm Nathan Merrill. I'm an attorney at Goodspeed & Merrill.
Together, our independent team combines our expertise to provide you insights and solutions, some straightforward, some profound, for real-life opportunities we see on a daily basis. We hope you enjoy the information contained in today's podcast and find it useful. If you'd like to learn more or desire to meet with any of the Expert Network team members in person, you can contact us at info@expertnetworkteam.com. That's info@expertnetworkteam.com.
We encourage you to take advantage of a free consultation with any of our team members. Just mention this podcast when you schedule your appointment.
Now on to today's podcast. Welcome to today's podcast. I am Nathan Merrill of Goodspeed Merrill, and today with the Expert Network Team, we have in-house Carl Frank of A&I Financial. Welcome, Carl.
Hey, Nate. It's great to be here.
And we also have with us Jeff Cromendike of Security First Insurance Agency. Welcome, Jeff.
Thank you, guys. Great to be here with you again. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. And Carl and I had a really great conversation last week talking about perhaps some of the things that lead to emotional strain, emotional anxiety in kind of today's world, today's environment.
There's so many things going on, and people
a lot of
are
that
really at their wits' ends.
Yep.
And last week we focused a lot on what we take in, like the inputs, the things we accept into our psyche that affect how we think, how we view the world, how we view our own circumstances. Today we're going to take a little bit different, or probably advance that forward a little bit and take that anxiety and evaluate it in our workforce, in our homes and in our workforce, you could say, because I think the same environments exist at some level, the same types of relationships, the same interdependence exists, whether at home or in the workplace. But how anxiety is manifesting itself, and perhaps some solutions, some ways we can approach when we are dealing with people who are exhibiting higher levels of anxiety, help them with that anxiety, and just talk generally about how we can keep ourselves stable, create a good foundation for our employees, for our families.
So one of the things we were talking about as we began here was it's great to have Jeff, because Jeff is our coach in our team, and he is he's just a great leader at his business. So, Jeff, we're putting a lot of pressure on you today. We expect really, really good things out of you, and we don't want you to let us down.
Oh gosh,
how does that make you feel?
I've got the chorus button ready for you.
Yeah,
that,
really.
like, behind the scenes.
Oh. Really should not have showed up today. Yeah. Wow, what pressure! This brings a lot of anxiety to me. Thank you, Carl.
How does that make you feel,
that.
Jeff?
Yeah, exactly.
Tell me about your feelings.
Yeah, right. Well, I wished I could have joined you last week. It sounds like it was a great first session to kind of kick us off here, but
you can have more important things to do.
I had a few things going, which we'll talk about later sometime.
That'll be a great podcast.
Yeah. Looking forward to sharing everybody some news.
Dropping a little teaser there
on our business front. So pretty exciting about some pretty exciting stuff there. Things that hope to cause us less anxiety going forward, but who knows? No, it's good. I mean, a couple of key things that come to mind as I was just hearing you guys kind of recap from last week. Just the immense amount of information that we take in, right, every day. It's really a time of life that's unlike any other. I know we've been in the information age for a very, very long time. So managing stress, managing anxiety, I think means managing our information intake. Would you agree?
Yeah, that's exactly what we.
Last week.
That would be a perfect recap of last week. Is recognizing what type of information you're taking in, how much you're taking in, and how it's affecting you. Because you can turn it off. You have a choice.
I don't think it's an overstatement to say managing stress or managing your media intake is a life or death decision.
Yeah.
People are getting heart attacks from this stuff. They're so worried, and there's so many reasons to be worried. The more you plug in, the more you check out.
Yep. Yeah, that's exactly right. And I don't know. I just, in my experience, I think I was mentioning it just earlier here this afternoon as we were kind of getting ready to go on air. But I had a young gal in my office this afternoon, again, just talking about her anxiety and being very, very open about it, quite frankly. I mean, I think that's one thing that our culture is beginning to talk more freely about, more open about, is the impact that anxiety is having. Whether that be stress-induced, from a workload perspective, but primarily I think it's from the information that our young people are taking in. I asked this particular gal where she's getting her information. It's primarily coming through social media feeds. It's TikTok. It's Instagram. It's
Trash.
Yeah, it's a bunch of stuff that I really wouldn't even think about going to for my information. I try to limit my news and really pick carefully what news I am taking in, just to really kind of control the inflow, so that I can manage my anxiety. I'm just reminded in Scripture, Paul in particular talked about renewing our minds, remembering what's true, right? And there's a battle over our minds. I think there's just such an incredible tug of war right now. For mind space, but also to really form a worldview that is true, and with I think the wide variety of what truth is out there, in and of itself, even provides some sense of anxiety. We don't know what to believe anymore, and so it's multi-layered for sure. But I thought maybe we could just talk a little bit about how do we counsel those that come to us, whether it's a client, whether it's one of our kids. I mean, our kids, I think, are living with the highest amount of anxiety than probably any generation alive or that has lived. And how do we walk our kids through that? How do we walk our staff and our employees through high stress, high anxiety type situations? We live in a very, very fast-paced work world. In my business, the work is never done. It just continues. There's never, finishing one thing and, starting another. It just seems like they just heap on. And so this is a pretty important thing to be able to at least coach and lead well, maybe even by example. I think is oftentimes the best way to lead. So maybe I'd like to throw it back to you guys and just, hey, how do you guys manage your anxiety and stress? You seem pretty low-key, calm for the most part when I'm connecting with you guys. So what does that look like for you guys? And maybe we can, bridge from there.
I think there's a lot of wisdom in there, and I don't know that I'm the perfect example of it, but I tell you what, exercise. I know that when I do it, I feel better, and I've got a lot more patience with everybody who's most important to me. So that's a really good one.
That's great.
Yeah, I really don't know how to actually answer that question because, like I just joked a second ago, I have a very strong emotional control, so I don't really require a lot of coping. I don't know what my coping mechanism is, quite honestly. Music definitely takes me to a different plane of thought. So if I was to be very stressed and overwhelmed, Bach Air on G is my go-to for like centering myself because it's just about the most relaxing piece of music ever authored. But I think that I mean the difference. There's a big difference between exercise and Bach Air on G, and I think that's what people have to realize is we could all throw out what it is we go to help us manage stress, and it's going to be unique to us. You have to have an honest self-assessment. Like, what is it? It could be prayer. It could be service. It could be food for some people. A good hamburger for me sometimes goes a long way.
Yeah, feeding is important.
Long drives for me.
Drinking enough water.
If I can get out on the open road and just be alone with my thoughts, driving in a straight line.
I love it. I love it. There's so much there. Jeff, what about you? What do you do?
Yeah, great. Many of these things actually. I think it is a very intentional routine for me. I know when I'm off, right? I know when I'm running a little bit scattered and sliding in sideways. And I don't know. I've never gotten used to that. I really don't like that feeling of just being stressed and high anxiety. So I think what I found, there are some really important disciplines that work for me. And I definitely, exercise is one of those things. And also being outdoors will typically lower my stress levels. As you guys all know, we love to do active lifestyles with regards to where we live here in Colorado, with skiing and hiking and mountain biking and things like that. So that'll do it. I do have a morning quiet time that I'm very militant about, and I will listen to music. I will just read a couple of different pieces from a couple of authors that I like. I'm in the Word, in the Bible on a regular basis. Just meditation. That's just really feeds my soul. Oftentimes ask my people this when they come in just absolutely strung out. Start talking a little bit about, imagine your life as a bucket, right? And really the goal would be to keep a relatively well proportioned or maintained level in your bucket, and imagine that bucket having some holes in it. Those things that actually deflate you are the holes. They represent maybe different stressors, maybe different relationships, maybe different situations that actually drain my energy. And then imagine the top of the bucket being those things that you're constantly filling your bucket up with things that are really life-giving. So it's exercise, maybe it's a hobby, maybe it's healthy work or a healthy client versus one that's just not a great client. It's a good exercise to do. It's kind of a little bit of an inventory, just a little bit of a pause to just say, hey, look, what are the things that actually give me a relatively healthy volume in my bucket of life, and how can I plug these holes that are draining me, and how can I put more in the top to, in essence, assist me in living just more full and even at a lower stress level.
You bring up something there because, and this isn't to contradict what you're saying, because I agree with you 100%, but we were just reviewing beforehand the serenity prayer.
Yes.
And how there's a lot of wisdom in that. But one of the things that I'd forgotten about the serenity prayer that you kind of just pointed out is life is full of adversity.
Yes.
Right? So, I think some anxiety in our culture, in our modern way of life, is this idea that we can live without adversity, that we can live without conflict, that somehow we can escape it.
It's such a lie.
And that its existence there is inherently a problem, which may feel that way, but in reality, that adversity helps us enjoy the positives and helps us actually embrace the things that are really great in our lives and appreciate them more. And that, you can't have good without a contrary pole. You can't have a positive pole without a negative pole. And so if we try to eliminate all the negative poles from our existence, or we can try, but if we operate from the premise that there should be no negative poles, that is a misconception in terms of what life is meant to be, I think.
Oh, there's so much in there, isn't it? Looking back at your life, I mean, so many of the things that, if you're anything like me, you're proud of, are the challenges that you've overcome. the hard times in life you look back at with a fondness and say, I made that. And it gives you energy for whatever the challenges are today. And you think, I'm in a better place than I was back then. I can overcome whatever I'm facing today. I can't imagine a life if I hadn't had challenges. It would be horrible.
Mm-hmm.
There's no benefit to that.
Yeah.
So in kind of concluding my thought here, perhaps one of the simplest or first steps in terms of combating our anxiety or combating our concerns about our lives is accepting that there are certain things that are not going to be perfect. There's going to be those holes draining our bucket.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
If there weren't, our bucket would, in your analogy, would overflow, and that would be a problem.
What a mess.
So,
Yeah, I think managing expectations is a big thing that you just touched on. What is it that we're actually expecting from this life, or even my day, or this meeting, or whatever it is? And it's when we don't experience, or our expectations aren't fulfilled, oftentimes that result, I think, in causing a lot of stress and a lot of anxiety. So managing our expectations, hey, life is hard. And I think that's an important reminder. I mean, one of which, it doesn't take me too long every morning at age 52 to step out of bed and realize, wait a minute, yep, this isn't the life I was created for. I got some aches and pains here, so
things are changing.
Yeah, so managing those
I
expectations.
feel the aches and pains before I get out of bed. So
yeah.
But you guys exercise. I don't.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the best thing. Wake up in the morning and do that.
Yeah, it is important.
So many ways to do that. Well, and you both bring up some wonderful things, and these are practical tools we can share with our people. So I think one of the most obvious things we haven't even said is that leading a company means you have to be vulnerable. You have to be open to the door has to be open, and your heart has to be open to these people sharing with you what their troubles are.
Yeah.
Let me just have you clarify. What do you mean by vulnerable? Because I don't think in that context that
is apparent.
Perhaps, yeah. I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean that we have to. I don't think go to our people and confide in them, because they're looking to us often for strength, and resolve.
Yes.
But I think they want it. When you say vulnerable,
it means
they want to feel comfortable coming to us with their concerns, right?
Right, exactly. And I think one of the best ways that we can be a strong leader is to say we too feel scared, right? We understand where they're coming from, because we all have felt that. And we may or may not at the moment they come in feel the exact same thing. And sometimes we build unrealistic expectations of ourselves to say, oh, I need to be somebody I'm not. And sometimes the most powerful leader is the most vulnerable at that moment in time and says, I'm not exactly sure how the Russia-Ukraine thing is going to end. I worry about it too. But I have confidence that it'll end well. I have confidence that something good is going to happen out of it. It always has. As it has been, it will be. Things like that can really go a long ways.
Yeah, I think it gives them a feeling like they're not alone. Yeah. Oh, you too.
Comradeship.
Okay, yeah. So it's important. Well, I do like the serenity prayer. I'm just going to read it real quick, and maybe we'll just close out on that. But I think it's a really important thing to remind ourselves of, because we are in a world that we are not in control of. And so just a real quick punch on, or just a quick plug for this. But it says, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And
very powerful.
To me, I think that really does help manage anxiety and stress, and can go a long ways for sure.
If only we always had that, right?
Yep.
Oh, my goodness. Well, it's something to aspire to, no doubt about it.
Absolutely. Good thing to remind ourselves of.
A lot of truth in there. Well, thank you so much for the advice. I think we got some practical takeaways. I think that as leaders, we can't always pretend we have the answers, but we can certainly always make a decision to be there for our people.
Yep.
And go on the journey with them.
That's right.
All right. Well, great discussion and appreciate everything. I mean, we didn't even, I think, scratch the surface in terms of some of the ideas and thoughts we've had, but we know that that there's, like I said, there's a lot of individuality in how we approach these things. So, hopefully this is helpful to some and finding ways to either find their own peace or help others find peace. And so with that, we'll see you next time.
Create a beautiful day.
Awesome. Thanks, Nate.
Thank you for joining us today. Hope you enjoyed the information we shared.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please feel free to share it with someone else. And join us next time.
If you want to meet with a member of the team, please contact us at info@expertnetworkteam.com. That's info@expertnetworkteam.com.
If you have special topics you'd like to hear about, please reach out to us and let us know at the same email address. Again, that's info@expertnetworkteam.com. Thank you for joining us and have a great day. Thank you for listening to this podcast. We want to remind you that listening to this podcast does not establish a client-professional relationship with any of the firms represented, nor does it constitute legal, investment, or accounting advice, and the views are those of the professionals only.
Investment advisory services may be provided through A&I Financial Services, and securities may be provided through Genios Wealth Management.